Hello there, Planet Coaster 2 friends, and welcome to Project Viking. This is a collaboration project between myself, Plastic Swans, and Raichu Plays. In this video, you will see me take on a mighty thrill ride and also something a little bit more calm, a little bit more chill, but it does have an awesome backstory behind it, so let's get into it. So although this wasn't the first thing that I actually built for this project, it is the first thing that I ever built for Planet Coaster 2, which is a car park. I know what you're thinking, how absolutely luxurious is this? It's a car park, which I know is not very fun or fantastic, but I enjoyed putting it in, and I think it adds a lot of element to the build, even though it's not functionable, it's just there to look pretty. But I enjoyed building it. So let me take you on the journey. So it's a relatively small car park. It has a limited space, and I still wanted to, again, make it look pretty, even though it is what it is. So I've added in some trees here, and now I'm just spreading these out equally, getting it all right, making sure it's all lined up into place. You can really see the size of the car park from here. And then this is me just adding in some disability parking or parent parking, whatever you want to use at the front here. So I put some on the left hand side and some on the right hand side, and I've left a gap in the middle. I was thinking maybe having like a drop up zone, or just to give it a little bit more breathing space. And then I just added in some cars for a little bit of realism. I wish we had more cars than this. And then the bus stop here. So again, we're just putting this all in place. There's only one spawn point to this park. I think originally there would have probably be a little bit more spawn points, but do you know what? Everyone comes in and out quite fine, so I'm not really too fussed about it. And then we are just adding in a little section here at the back, which is going to be for a bus stop, like a bus shelter. So again, this is all from my workshop items that you can see me going at the back there and picking them up and then just popping them down. One thing I just noticed is that there is no seats to this bus shelter, so I feel so sorry for all the guests who have to stand and wait for the next bus to arrive. But to be honest, I have been to Disneyland and there was only like one bench, so when you have to like stand in the heat and wait for a bus, it's not fun. But you know, this one has no benches, so it's even worse. And now I'm just building a bollard. It's nothing fancy. It's literally just a couple of art pieces and some coaster supports, putting them all together. Had to scale up the size. I was trying to base it on a guess height, but then I realised that it was far too small, so I have just made it slightly bigger, and then we're just putting them equally along the front there. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, you should probably add the bollards into that pack, but maybe it's something for the future. In fact, it's probably really basic to build, so I don't think anyone is going to be screaming in the comments saying, "Oh my gosh, Gemma, put that on the workshop, because that bollard is something special." Or if you do want it, then yeah, let me know. Now we're moving on to some road markings. How fun! Honestly, this video's got it all. So this is just literally a couple of arrows made entirely out of art shapes, and you'll also notice that it is a one-way road, so this is why I decided to put in a no entry sign. So we're taking this one and we're swapping it all out. Thankfully there is this no entry barrier, which made my life so much easier. And then we're just putting a little pay point here, just a little sign that people know exactly that before you hop back into your car and go back home, you gotta pay for your ticket. I mean, we've got to make money somehow on these guests coming in, so why not charge them an absolute fortune to park their car? So yeah, we're just finishing off by lining up all of these lovely trees. I just wanted to switch it out to give it a little bit more variation with the colours and the textures, and then I thought we need to protect the trees, because a tree is a tree, my friend, but they also need a little bit of protection. So here we go, I have just put in this tree protector and then we're just moving it into place. A bit of cohesive consistency with it all, and now we are just putting in what looks like a log barrier. I don't think this was intended for its purpose, but I think it looks pretty good, just to give it a little bit more design. You usually see these in more like a woodland kind of car park, and I thought, why not just add it in? It looks good. And we're just finishing off by putting in some more trees, cleaning up the blueprints that I no longer use, and there we have it, one car park. What's next? Well, I'm glad you've asked what's next, because this is going to be a queue line for our thrill ride. So the idea for this is, it is called the Kraken, and I think from that you'll know exactly where we're going with this. But I didn't know that when I started building it. So the idea was, because Plastic Swans made the entrance building, which is absolutely fantastic, I wanted to make sure what I was building fitted nicely into that. So it was all cohesive. It looked like almost like the same person built the entrance squares. So when you're walking through it, it doesn't feel like, oh, this person has made this type of building, the style of building, then over here it just really doesn't fit in. So that's what I was trying to do. You can see here on the left hand side, that is a building that is built by Plastic Swans, and then obviously everything you see here is now being built by me. So I wanted this to be kind of like a town hall that, you know, people would go in, they would get their mead, and it would be a roaring fire, and it would just be like a really nice place for them to go and like chill out. And then I thought, okay, what else can I put here that is going to be a little bit more interactive for the queue line? So I like this idea of these archers that you can weave the queue line in and out of it, just because it's quite boring if you're just like standing in a queue for absolute ages. And I think there's a lot of places that Disney does this, that the queue line, because you could be standing there for like an hour maximum, even longer than that, you know, it is really, really boring and there's nothing to look at. So I wanted that to be a focus, that the queue line had to be and kind of almost like an interactive thing. So I'm now taking a blueprint which is actually made by Planet Coaster, and I'm just like deleting all the parts that I don't like. I thought, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just taking things that look good and try incorporate them with what I'm building as well. So you can see that this is windmill and it's got like all these different elements in front of it, and I just wanted again to make it feel like this was all intentional and the way that it's been put together. So at the back here I've just put in some trees and some rock work. You can see that we do have a bit of a lake over at the side as well, which I really wanted to incorporate that into the story of this. So the ride's called the Kraken, and a little bit later on, which I thankfully I did delete my attempt to make tentacles. I actually went onto the workshop and found this fantastic creator that has made a whole entire Kraken. It's so good. All the tentacles are all individual for you to put it down in your park and use them the way that, you know, you want to use it. And I just was like, that is 1,000,000 times better than anything that I could ever create. I am absolutely terrible at making anything to do with art shapes, so I just did not want to almost like embarrass myself with my attempt with it. So I will put a shout out to the person who has made that, and I'll put a link in the description as well. Unfortunately, I don't have it to hand, but I'll put their name up on screen and you guys can go check out as well. So anyway, back to the queue line and how I wanted the guests to be on this like almost journey around what I am building. So again, I'm just like trying to sort out the queue line here, trying to make it blend in as well, so it doesn't look too much out of place. I did have this idea of sinking it into the ground, but then when you do that, you get these like really weird, like the terrain is conflicting with the path, so that didn't really work out for me. And then I thought, okay, well maybe I could like use, you know, foliage or rockwork to cover up the path, but again that didn't really work either. So I just kind of gave up at this point. I was like, we're just gonna have this looking like that and it'll be fine. And then I'm just adding in some more details at the top here. I will say that the Viking style is something that I'm not too familiar with. My husband's like a massive fan of Norse or Viking mythology, and he could tell me stories about all the gods and everything like that, and it did actually help out for my next build, which you'll see in a couple of minutes. But for this one, I didn't really think about what I was doing. It was more so trying to get to connect with what is already there, and also trying to incorporate into the story that I wanted this ride to be this Kraken which lives in this lake, and it came up and it's trying to attack the ride. So that's what essentially I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to take all of the aquatic pack and just making it a little bit more aquatic-y. Kraken kind of vibes to it, which is really great because these like fake rocks look absolutely fantastic. So I think it looks really good. It was a little bit annoying because when I built all this, I built it before any of the updates, so I couldn't just like grab a whole section of rock and then recolor it. So I had to do it either individually or just get one that I've already placed down and recolor it. So I'm really grateful that that's now been changed in the update. But yeah, the queue line is very interactive. There's lots of things for you to look at, and I would imagine that there's like a lot of sound effects with this as well. I did actually put in a little bit more interactivity with that. There's like little fountains and stuff. There's bubbles, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. You can see here, yeah, there you go. At the back, there's like it's almost like a big spray of water. And then here, I wanted to add in a kind of like a rock pool, but I find that really difficult. But then I noticed that we have these water shapes which work absolutely perfect for that. So I was going to put in like a little fountain here, but then I think I just went away and left it the way it is. But yeah, just adding in so much features to this. And then I like this idea of having a story where the Kraken is like attacking the town hall or the village, and they've went away and smacked the tentacle into this building, and you know there's loads of rubble, and then this building was like kind of used for storage as well, so we're going to be putting hay in there a little bit later on, and you know the place is kind of like on fire almost, just to give it again just more story and like a little bit more life to it, rather than just being like, oh, I'm building for the sake of building kind of thing, which, you know, sometimes that's fine. You know, if you're enjoying what you're building, you don't have to have a purpose or a story towards it, but it really helps with me when I'm building. So this is exactly what I've done. But as long as you're having fun and that you are enjoying the process, then just do what works for you. So just now I'm adding in some rubble here, and then I'm adding in some fire. I don't know how Frontier's done this, but like adding in that fire to the hay, and then the hay seems to like catch fire as well. It's just really, really cool. And then I thought, oh, it'd be really cool if we had like a sunken ship in the background as well. So it's just like slightly under the water. So again, the idea is the Kraken is attacking, the Vikings have went out and they have tried to defend the town hall or the village or whatever it is. So yeah, just putting in some broken rubble and all that stuff. And then I just wanted to like kind of hide the fact that these massive tentacles would then be like placed on concrete, and I was trying to hide the fact that there would be like loads of concrete under there as well. But yeah, the tentacles do get absolutely ripped out, so thankfully I never put that in, and you could have seen how terrible that my version of it was. But then it could have been, you can see it in the background there, it could have been that it started off that way, but then when the park received a little bit more budget, that they did change it over. And then there's these really cool tentacle signs as well, so I just used that for the actual ride of the name, which is Kraken. And yeah, I was kind of experimenting with the shape of everything, and I think it ended up looking pretty good. And then I also like removed some of the other features that was at the start of this video, but you know, the speed build's going so fast that you probably don't even realize what I have removed. And then these shipwreck pieces are pretty cool, and I thought that kind of went in with the whole theming of that it's been under attack, and there's just like all these like bits of planks of wood put together. I actually do have a technique of making this a lot faster than what you are experiencing here on screen, which it's one of those things, like if I knew that back then what I know now, then this video would have been a lot shorter. But you learn as you go. You know, this video right now, or what I've created right now, it's to the best of my ability right now, but I'll guarantee you in the next 5 years when I look back on this ride and I'll be like, oh, it was rubbish. you know, because we all grow as creators and we all grow as builders. So I think that's definitely like a lesson to be learned, that there is always like a more efficient way to build something, but it's just learning what those efficiencies are. But yeah, I really enjoyed building this, and I'm quite glad that it is as interactive as what it is. And I even tried to add more interactivity to the ride by putting the sequenizer on. So when the ride kind of goes past, there's like a big shot of water. So it's kind of like a water ride as well, which I thought would be really fun. But oh my gosh, I could not get that to like sync every time it was like coming down. So it's just totally random when the water comes out. And I'm not that pernickety about spending loads of time to get it absolutely perfect. So you will see it kind of coming in, and randomly there'll be like a massive gush of water. And if I could time it perfectly, then that would be great. But it is what it is. And that is our ride. That is the Kraken. So it's time to move on to our next ride, which is the Tiny Eye, which is an absolute throwback to Planet Coaster, the original game. That I absolutely love this ride. I think it really is a bit of nostalgia, but it's obviously not themed the way it was in Planet Coaster 1, which I'm very grateful for, because it means that now we can do our own spin on things. So as I was saying before, that this technique that you'll see on screen is the new technique, which makes everything building an absolute breeze. You can see here that I'm putting one thing on one side and it's mirroring it on the other side, and I can also duplicate one section around and it does it automatically. Now the issue with this is, and you'll see that if you want to then remove a section, it then removes it from all the other sections. So then you have to go in individually and then fill in the gaps almost, which is, you know, not a massive deal, because you kind of already have the layout of what already works and you're just lining it up. And usually if one side lines up fine on one side, then you can easily just place that on the opposite side. Hopefully that makes sense. This is actually something that I've been meaning to put out a tutorial on my channel for about 2 weeks now, but life is just so busy. So I've been trying to like plan out my future projects, but it will come to the channel eventually, don't you worry. So let's get back into the story of this. So this is Mimir's Well. The story is that the ride is called Odin's Eye. And if you know about Viking mythology, the story of Odin is that he is the All-Father, he is the king of gods, but he wanted wisdom. So the story is that he went to Mimir's Well, and to gain wisdom he had to drink from the well. So what I've got here is Odin standing, and then these just little cute things that I thought looked really cool, and I just wanted to make the well and the colours all come together. And you'll also notice, if you have eagle eyes, is that Odin has one eye which is blacked out, and that is a choice because of the story, that he removed his right eye. It's not actually confirmed if it was his left or right eye, but the majority of people, or at least Google, thinks it is the right eye. So that's what I went with. Correct me in the comments if you actually know Odin himself and you can confirm which eye it is. Which, yeah, sure, you could do that. So now I'm just trying to cover up the queue line here. I was going to make it so it was all just complete moss, using all these like mossy rocks just to give it some texture. Mainly, I was trying to cover up the curb line there. I really, really wished that we didn't have curbs in Planet Coaster 2. And I am like 100% convinced that they're going to get rid of that in an update. And I just wish that we already had that update, because it's so annoying. So you can see here that I'm trying to cover up the queue line. Again, just adding a little bit of texture. But then I have to go back and change that white to like this wooden texture, just to make sure it doesn't look too out of place, because the white is really bright and I just wish that you could change it. Sorry, that's my only criticism with the queue lines. Apart from that, love it, so it's all good. And then I just thought I'd continue with these little logs going around the side as well. mainly to cover up the sharpness of the rocks, and it just make it look better. And we're continuing that with the queue line. The queue line itself is a pretty short ride because it's designed to be a kids ride. I thought there's probably not going to be that many people on it, and also it's at the front of the park, so you know, maybe you would take your kids over to that section and they could like go on to this ride. What I have discovered, however, is that the guests absolutely love it, and the line is chock-a-block, which means that it's over full. It's full capacity, which is a good thing. You want to make sure that, you know, your guests are enjoying the ride, but yeah, it needs to be much longer. Then I was going to be putting in a fountain back here, just like a waterfall, which was a bit of an idea from my husband. But by the time I started to put all the trees in, and I just thought, with the logs at the back there, I could add something in, but also they would have to maybe, you know, maintain it and stuff, and they probably just want to maintain the well. So I decided against that, and I'm just trying to like build up the area to make it all cohesive. I think cohesive might be my new favourite word. Anyway, yeah, so lots of foliage in here. Once you have one bush, why not just spam it down everywhere? And that's exactly what I did. I looked for temperate foliage and foliage from a taiga biome, and that's essentially how I built this all up. I was really surprised actually, because usually what I find is that filling a ride up, I find it quite overwhelming sometimes, of it not being this like really interactive, really cool thing. But I actually really enjoyed this. The simplicity of just putting foliage down makes like a massive difference, which I shouldn't be surprised, because it's the same in Planet Zoo. You can have a habitat look alright, and then as soon as you put like masses of foliage in, it just like transforms it. And that's essentially what's happened here, is that the gardeners have just let everything go wild, and it just looks really good. So we're moving on to the actual ride itself. So I wanted this to be an eye. It's literally the only thing that I have made for the ride itself, and I thought it doesn't have to be all bells and whistles, because the main focus is the queue line, and when you go onto the ride, it's 100% fantastic. So I'm happy with that. So this is that technique that I was talking about. Once you do it on one side, it duplicates it to the other side. So this is just me making, I think it's kind of like a Viking compass. Again, I just had to look at some reference images, and then I just wanted to make it like really simple with the art shapes that we already had. I'm not trying to like reinvent the wheel, or I'm not trying to, you know, make it exactly one for one. It's just a nice kind of Viking design. And there we have it. That is Odin's eye. So that's what I did for Project Viking. I will say that I did contribute to the park, but I'm more so of a guest builder than how much time, effort, and just the sheer creativity which has come from Plastic Swans and Raichu Plays. The links to their channel is in the description. Please go check it out, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.